Okay. Well, welcome to Our Community, Our Health, a town hall series to share ideas about health, prevention, and interventions that impact our community. My name is Catherine Striley. I'm an associate professor here at the University of Florida and the deputy director of UF Health Street. I'm also a community member, and in that role, I am the co-chair of the Community Coalition for Older Adults. Today's town hall, Your Voice Matters, empowering communities to shape research through participation, is about participation in research. We will talk with community members who've actively participated in research and in the research enterprise here at the University of Florida. And we'll also have a discussion with all of you as to how you can participate in research, how you have participated. Please feel free to ask questions and engage in the discussion. On the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button, and you can send in your questions through that button. I will be tracking them for our panelists. Right now, we have one panelist with us, and we hope that others will be joining soon. I want to introduce E. Stanley Richardson, who is one of our gems here in Gainesville and Alachua County. He is the Poet Laureate of Alachua County. He's also the founding director of Art Speaks Gainesville. He is also has many other roles, and I lost your youth role, dropped off already, so you can say that in a minute. He is involved in UF in multiple ways. He's a citizen scientist through our Clinical and Translational Science Institute. He's also through our Cancer Center. He's a member of the External Advisory Board. He's a member of the Community Advisory Board. And he's also a member of the Community Outreach and Engagement Board. So with that impressive set of credentials, he's also, of course, as a poet laureate, but he's a wonderful poet. I do want to hold up, and I'm sure he'll say it again, but on September 10th, if you're in the area from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Thomas Center, Art Speaks Gainesville will be having an event with storytelling and poetry and dancing. And so I encourage you all to go to the Thomas Center for that. With that, I want to start us off. And because you do so much, Mr. Richardson, do you want to start out by just telling us why you do what you do? What's driving and motivating you to participate in all of these community advisory boards and external boards?
I don't know, maybe it's insanity.
I don't think so.
No, I am just, well, thank you once again. Thank you for inviting me to take part in this this meeting. What drives me? I'm just passionate about community, especially I grew up out in Alachua, and as growing up, I understand how it is to not have access to resources, and what that feels like. And so I just want to ensure that I'm passionate about folk who live in rural communities and historically underserved communities, so that they may have access to whatever I may have access to make sure they have access to have the information that they can choose to be involved if they so desire.
And you shared with me before we started that I want to share that you're on campus right now waiting to meet with some interns.
I'm at downtown library branch right now. I wanted to find somewhere that had Wi-Fi that I could have my computer. My wife's her schedule, I don't know what her schedule was. Normally she has access to office space, but I just said, okay, downtown library headquarters is close to campus. I can set up here, and then right after this, I can leave to go to campus. I am a a mentor, serve as a mentor. Our organization, Art Speaks GNV Inc., serves as there's a program called Active Learning Program at University of Florida, where every semester we have a minimum of 2 interns that we mentor that assists us with our programming, whatever we may have going on in the community. Right now, we're preparing for quite a few things, a long list of things that we're preparing for next year. Also, there's a project, a book project that I'm involved with the county, and hopefully we can get folks at University of Florida involved. That's going to celebrate Alachua County's bicentennial, which is 2024. December of 2024 is the 200th year anniversary of Alachua County's founding.
Yeah, that's great. So you're obviously very involved in the community and do a lot of good work. What made you decide to participate in health research?
Well, I was actually how I came to the citizen scientist program and what got this all me involved with health research on campus. I was in a play. I'm also an actor, so I was in a play playing Frederick Douglass, and there was someone in the audience at the time who was involved with UF Health and the citizen scientist program, and for some reason they thought, after seeing me on stage portraying Frederick Douglass, for some reason they thought that I would be a good candidate for the citizen scientist program. So didn't know what it was. This is several years, maybe 2016, maybe I think it was around that time, 2015, 2016, and had no idea what it was. And then once I found out exactly what the program was all about, I thought it would be something, because I mean especially dealing with cancer. Cancer has touched my family like many families, and one of the things that my father passed away from prostate cancer, and when he was diagnosed, he was already stage 4.
Oh, goodness.
And the cancer had metastasized to his bones. So my question, back then was, why didn't they catch this? I mean, my father had excellent insurance. He had a primary care doctor that he saw often. And what I found out was that the type of test that they would perform, they were not accurate in Black men. So, like I said, he had his primary care doctor. He would go to the doctor. He would get tested. I think maybe the PSA and everything, and nothing. So that got me thinking. And then once I got involved with the citizen scientist program and doing research and understanding how African American this demographic is men and women are not represented well in clinical research because of various reasons. And whenever they bring these drugs or whatever to the public, they may not be as effective on us, speaking us as African American or Black population, because we are not involved in the research trial process. So that's one of the things that got me involved. And one of my daughters, my oldest daughter, has okayed me to share her story too, because her mother passed from breast cancer at 39.
Oh, goodness.
And she just had, a few years ago, my daughter called me up and said that she was going to have both breasts removed because of the genetics involved. And she called me up. I told her to talk it over with her husband and everything, and they talked it over, and she had a double mastectomy and everything. So out of just being proactive and understanding that she carried this genetic marker that made her at high risk for breast cancer. And so I have one daughter that's really proactive and one daughter that doesn't want to know anything. So they're both on different extremes.
Well, thank you for sharing those very personal stories. So you're your motivation to participate in research, it sounds like, was really hitting close to home in terms of
Yes,
you wanted to improve the health and give other people a chance by participating in research. And I assume that the citizen scientist role that grew out of that is also a way that you feel that you can help to improve for other people going forward.
absolutely.
I want to introduce Carolyn Eason, who's joined us now. Thank you so much for being here. Ms. Eason is a retired RN, and she's very active in her community and in her church, and has also participated in some research studies. Would you share with us, Ms. Eason, why you participated in research or participate in research?
Can you hear me okay?
We can't.
Well, one thing about it is when I considered the fact that and I know I've been told that there wasn't enough African-American participants in research, and for various reasons, I was skeptical about it because being in medicine for all those years, I worked at the VA for 27 years, just knowing what I know, I was a little skeptical of it. But when I thought the more of it, I realized that in order to make a difference, you got to sometimes do some uncomfortable things. So that's why I decided to go ahead and step on out there. And, my concern was what's going to happen to the information, my information, what are they going to do with it after the research? And yes, I had a lot of questions for people through the years. And that was a concern for me. But as I consider the bigger picture of it all, I'm glad that I stepped out there. And I'll tell people, it may be uncomfortable inside with your feelings are concerned, but think about the big picture. Think about all of the diseases that affect us as a race of people.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big thing to me, if I can help someone coming after me by participating.
Mm-hmm. So you stepped into that uncomfortableness knowing that you were giving a gift.
Yes, I did. I was very uncomfortable about doing it. And when I really got uncomfortable was right because I tried to keep up with the latest news and what's going on. And so when COVID started in 2020, I had this inkling. I was involved in a research project at that time, and at the Brain Institute. And so I was very uncomfortable about being in a closed space with anybody, knowing what I knew. And each time I went, I finally stopped it because it was before it really broke out real bad. I stopped it, and of course, I went on and I got COVID later on in that year. But at any rate, that was just some of the things. Uncomfortable, but I loved science when I was in school. I loved science. I was just talking to someone about it yesterday about when I was in anatomy physiology over at Santa Fe, and I went back to school when I was 39 to get my RN. I love science. And so I can really get into it if I start going deeply into a particular area. It fascinates me because this body is fascinating, and the Bible says wonderfully, marvelously made. And I do know that because we haven't even found everything there is to find about the human body in every area. Yeah.
So you've brought up a number of things. I want to hit on a couple of them. One is just that you, as a participant, had the ability at any time to say, I'm done. You were able to step out of the protocol because you have autonomy and you have the choice and you have the power at any time you're participating to choose to end that participation. So I think probably thereafter, very soon after that, probably we close down all the research for a
Yes,
while.
yes, that's exactly what happened very soon after that. Yes.
So I, do want to just hold up the fact that there's lots of information in what we call the informed consent process and in the informed consent document about participation and what will happen, the purpose of the research, all this. And it sounds like you were very careful about paying attention to that, and you specifically said, how would your privacy be protected? What happens with this information? I want to turn it back to you, Mr. Richardson, to talk about a little bit about all your community board participation. You actually work in helping to design some of the research to make it more friendly for community participation.
Yes, ma'am. As a citizen scientist, that's one of the things that we do, and there are different levels of participation that we were involved in. One of the things you were just talking about, I haven't seen it, so I hope it turned out okay. But we just finished doing a short filming of an engagement where I portrayed the researcher or the person, and then there's another person who was the community member. And so it was maybe what you do with Health Street when you table somewhere in the community and someone comes up and has all these questions about what you do with research and these questions you had about your information. If I get involved, what happens next? Can I stop it at any time? Am I obligated? So although we did a short Q&A where I was the person doing the tabling with, say, you have Health Cancer Center research or whatever, and then we had a young lady who was a community member. So it was set like we were tabling in the community, and she came up and I stopped her and told her what we were all about, research, and engaged her, and she had all these questions that a community member would normally and naturally have, and I tried to answer those. And we had a script we developed. We helped shape the script and the narrative of so it would be natural. What a real community member questions they may actually have, and try to answer those honestly and with clarity to make it so that it could be community members may actually answer all those questions and provide the answers so that people will know what they're getting involved with and what happens to that information once they give up all this information and share this information with researchers. And also one of the things that Ms. Eason was talking about in the African American community, there's a level of historical trauma involved with research that we don't talk about, I guess, often, but that's one of the things that historically has hindered our participation in various forms of clinical research. You mentioned research, and instantly we go to the Tuskegee syphilis experiments or something like that, or the so-called father of gynecology who experimented on Black women without anesthesia. Those type of things are in our psyche. So we have to overcome that also when we're talking about our participation in clinical research, and that is a real issue for us. And we have to have people like Ms. Eason and myself and others to try to alleviate that apprehension and that historical is related to the historical trauma of clinical research participants.
Well, that brings a question from one of our audience members, Dr. Fern Webb, who's at UF Jacksonville, and she says, "Thanks for sharing your experiences She's curious to know why you continued in studies given your hesitancy. I think that's for you, Ms. Eason.
Yeah, well, of course, money was a factor in some of them, because be honest with you, but also I'd like to say that I thought I was making a difference. And one study, I must admit, that one helped me to be motivated to really lose and get serious on a pathway to losing weight. And I must say, when I got the report back, what they said about what it was going to take for me actually for my health and the stage I was in, I just am so thankful. I must say that. I'm not can't remember the name of the study, but I took it over there at the Aging, I think, Institute of Aging, and uh, ran up downstairs and knowing I could do that. So I'm thankful because I've lost over 60 pounds, and it's taken me, constantly being aware that, look, I don't want to be ended up in a chair where I cannot walk, period.
Right.
But so I would say it helped in those ways. So that's why I persevered. Yeah, the funds money because of not working, but I wanted to show other people that it could be done.
Excellent. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that, yeah, so.
I want to share something. This is from an article by Sheridan and some other authors called "Why Do Patients Take Part in Research? An Overview of Systematic Reviews of Barriers and Facilitators." They looked at 26 different studies that had put other studies together. There were 429 studies in total represented, and they came up with 5 reasons why people participate in research. And you've said most of them. The first one is benefit, including therapeutic benefit, closer monitoring, access to new treatment, gaining knowledge of your own health. And that was reported in 20 different systematic reviews. Altruism was the second one. You've both talked about that. People call it altruism, meaning that they're benefiting, they want to benefit other people. They want to help other people's health. That was reported in 18 systematic reviews. Confidence or trust in the physician or research was reported in 13. A low burden or convenience, which you haven't talked about much, but the COVID part you did, was reported in 13, and in only 4 did they report in only 3 did they report financial benefit or incentives. So, many studies have found similarly that when people participate in research, they want to help provide the knowledge that will help other people. And the remuneration for participating, of course, is a sign of respect, that we believe that we're all worth, our time is worth something, and we need to be remunerated for that. Before I turn to the barriers, because I think there are barriers too, I just want to point out one thing based on some comments in our question and answers. And there's a question about trust. And I just want to, because we have data here at Health Street from about 13,000 people in our area, I do want to point out that we ask everyone about how much they trust research and how much they trust researchers on a 10-point scale, where 1 is not at all and 10 is completely. In 2023 so far this year, we've actually seen trust is higher, whether that's to do with COVID or just a natural increase as Health Street's been in the community longer. I can't say, but we're at an all-time high this year of 8.1 with a standard deviation of 1.8 trust in research, and 7.9 with a standard deviation of 1.9 trust in researchers. So we do we monitor that every day when we are out in the community talking to people. which leads to the question someone asked, should Health Street's a place that meets people where they are in the community and lets people know what studies are available? Should research be done in places like Health Street and not in big institutions? I don't know if anybody wants to try to answer that. I don't like should questions myself, but any thought about meeting people where they are versus asking them to come to the hospital?
Well, I mean, I think you should always meet people where they are. I mean, I think that's probably why I'm not sure what year you took your questions about trust and what they were the previous years. You say they went up.
Yeah, they did. They had started in 2011 and 12 at 7.6. Oh, excuse me, 13 and 14 when we started asking at 7.6 for both with a 2-point standard deviation.
And probably the reason that why you've been in the community a lot and sharing information and engaging people in the community is one reason I think that the trust level has gone up. And whenever you do that, naturally, I think, and people find out exactly who you are, what you do, that gives a level of trust. So I don't know if sometimes going to a big institution, I'm from Alachua. I'm from the rural. We've grown. I still live there. We've grown a lot in the last few years. But when I was growing up, we had dirt roads and one traffic light, and we would always have to go to Gainesville or come to Gainesville for whatever it was, whether it was healthcare or to go to the mall or go get groceries sometimes. So I've always looked at the University of Florida as a wonderful resource. And you may have some communities who are in Gainesville who are maybe closer proximity to the University of Florida may not look at the University of Florida as in the same, optimism or the same way that I historically has looked at the University of Florida because of encroachment and of the destruction of some historically Black communities by this monolith, this gigantic gargantuan monster that's gobbling up everything. So, but I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but I think for me, I don't see that much of a difference in there may be times that you have to go to that wonderful institution that's at the pinnacle of medical research, as opposed to doing something in the community. You may have to go to the UF Health Cancer Center or one of the other places to get excellent health care you may not get elsewhere.
Ms. Eason, I'm just offering you the chance to jump in if you want to, but don't feel like you need.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. What was the question the last posed?
The question was just, should research be done in places that go into the community or into a big building like a hospital?
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe that's debatable, but I know when I first heard about Health Street, you all were at the building where my sister lives. And so they would go there at this, she lived in one of the high rise there here. And so when I first, I saw people coming out, some of the people that were working, of course, back then, and this has been about 4 years or more. And I started talking with them, said, excuse me, where are you from? And they were telling me, and I was like, what is Health Street? What do you do? What are y'all doing? My sister, what are y'all at? And yes, I'm someone who will ask a lot of questions people don't like. And so, but they said, oh, by the way, you can join Health Street too. So I said, I will. And so I did and went out there, of course, a few times to the building, but after COVID, I haven't been to many other places because I have a low immune system. I compromise for whatever reason. They still can't find out why. But yeah, so I think it's okay that you going in there just to make sure, though, that those people understand what they're undertaking and what they're putting out, they're getting involved in. That's always been my main concern. But coming from here and all of my life been in Gainesville and the University of Florida being here, I always wanted to go to college, to a big college, and never did because I had a child young. But it's always intrigued me as far as what's going on at University of Florida.
You wanted to come see?
Yes, and so I've been, so interested in those things. And if you bring it to where people are, Health Street comes over to where we do food giveaway every Tuesday. Over at my church, we give away food, have a food drive every Tuesday. And so the van is there. And Health Street is bringing more information about the vaccines and all this other information that people may not get otherwise to this underserved area over here where I live. And that, I think that's another, maybe I shouldn't even get into all that, but it is a factor of what I'm just thinking about. My sister's a breast cancer survivor for 16, 15 years, and just recently had a positive PET scan. And so I'm dealing with that right now. Research is vitally important. So one component of the people that come over to my church is the Donate Life. The man that comes there and trying to get us to sign up to be on the donor list, to recognize that that's the area where we are really not really represented at, and we are some of the highest numbers of people that are on waiting lists for various organs or whatever. So all of these things are in my mind when I'm thinking about all of that, because of the fact that I try to be involved in my community to make a difference. So don't mean to talk too much, but
No, you're not talking too much at all.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Ms. Eason, for what you do, and thank you very much for that. And equally, one of the things that I try to also, I know I'm involved with Miss Dr. Carolyn Tucker, who has gotten a coalition of pastors. One of the ways to get into the Black community is through the Black church, which is the most powerful, influential institution in the Black community, the Black church. So she's from the coalition of pastors in the area who to promote information about various forms of cancer research and information, whether it be colorectal cancer, prostate cancer, or breast cancer.
And another good example of a researcher who goes into the community.
Yes, and I'm equally passionate, just passionate about the rural community. A lot of times when the university talks about communities, especially underserved, historically underserved communities, they kind of concentrate on East Gainesville. And I'm like, oh no, there's some Black folks who live out here in the rural areas too. And we need that information and we need access to it. So that's what I'm passionate about, trying to make sure that folks who live in those rural communities have access to the information and have opportunity to participate in various research projects if they so desire.
Thank you. You've both brought up barriers, and that's our next topic. And so I want to bring in a question from the audience that fits with this. It says, you talk about patients. Why do people have to be a patient to be in a study? And they don't have to be, of course.
Um, why should they be? Or
No, they just said, why do people have to be a patient to be in a study?
oh, so it was a statement.
Well, it has a question mark, but why
Yeah,
do people have to be a patient in a study is the question. But I'm saying they don't have to be, of course.
exactly. Right, right. Yeah,
But
just a member of the community or any community anywhere. Right.
but transportation, if you're in a rural area, if
Yes.
you're not a patient, you might not know about the research that's going on, and unless you have information. So I want to turn us into barriers next, and just to ask you both, what do you see as being barriers to community members participating in research? I don't care who goes first.
Well, I was just involved with a research project with the University of Indiana, and that was the whole thing was trying to come up with. We had to, I guess, look at barriers, and they were all different kinds, whether it be financial barriers, transportation, mostly non-medical barriers that we were looking at, and there were a long list of various barriers that we mentioned a couple of just now, like transportation. My number one thing was, for me, everything revolves around finances. And, if you had the money, you could buy a car to get from A to Z. If you had the money, you could do this. My whole answer was about having if unemployment, that was one of the barriers of transportation. So everything with me always came back to the dollar. So as the main barrier, but there were others and everything, and we talked about stuff from originally we didn't talk about medical barriers, but then we got things like mental health, incarceration, people who were on probation, people, various barriers that would hinder people in the real world from being able to participate in research studies.
Great, that was a good list. Ms. Eason, do you want to add anything?
Oh yeah, definitely the barriers. My people, the scripture said, my people perish for lack of knowledge, and there's just a so much of a lack of knowledge, even in this modern day and time. I was talking to someone about donating to um, just donating part, that could be when they're dying or whatever. What and they said, "Oh, now you're not gonna use me for a guinea pig." So you see, people still a lot of times it's the lack of knowledge, a lot of barriers in that area. Uh, if they've never had to deal with it, where you never had a family member perhaps on a waiting list and their life is so precious, and then someone donates a kidney or someone donates whatever or something. And then when it came down to donating, there was they had this probably connotation in their mind that if something happened, if they passed away, they weren't gonna, people were just gonna take whatever they wanted their body. If they wrote or said, yeah, I'm donating. So there are barriers, yes, the financial part, because even in this day and time, some people do not have insurance. I talk to them all the time, and I'm asking, well, why don't you go do this, or I recommend go do this or that, to see about yourself, so you're just not out here with those medical issues and they're getting worse. So yeah, it's still some barriers there.
I want to just list a few more that we haven't brought up, and then there's a lot in the chat to bring up. Fear and perceived risk to health or adverse events from the treatment. Practical difficulties, including just, childcare to be able to go, taking time off work for some people, carrying responsibilities besides children, Then we came to distrust. We talked about that a little. Some people don't want to be randomized. They want to know what they're going to get, or they want to be able to choose. There are treatment preferences, uncertainty, what's going to happen, their personal health. And the final one here was a stigma associated with a health condition as a barrier. Feel free to respond to any of those, but I'm going to bring in some of the things from the chat that people are talking about. So we've got fear, ripple effects of oppression.
That's definitely fear is enough. Like I said, it is a big part of it. Even with me, even though I know what little I think I know, when it came down to taking MRIs recently, I said no, because of the fact that here I am considering what is, I don't know, what is that going to do to me? Seriously. So yeah, and when it comes to the regression, or when people are thinking back what's happened in the past, that's still, as Mr. Richardson said, that is still in people's psyche. What happened with Tuskegee? What happened with the other studies? Of course. And so, yeah, I'm so glad. I don't know what's going to even become of this Zoom or what y'all having today, the information. And it is my prayer that it goes on to help all of you out there who are either in that field or have to deal with people, that somehow, I know y'all are good at it, putting people at ease to know that this is for the good, and we're not going to misuse, as you said, because so many thousands of people y'all have had in studies, and you are protecting that information, but that it's going to be all right. So yeah, I think it's going to be an ongoing until we just continue to even put the information out there in a way, and the rural communities as well, as Mr. Richardson said. I must say, Mr. Richardson, I have a investment in the fact that my son came home from Dallas and moved to Alachua 2 years ago. So
Don't get
yeah.
into an Alachua fight.
Welcome to the Good Lives community.
So I want to tell you, there are lots of questions that have this form. What is something researchers can do to be more trustworthy? If you meet someone who's distrustful of research or researchers, what do you tell them? So people want you to have answers, knowing there's maybe a problem with trust. What are you suggesting?
One of the things that whenever I'm involved, and we go over, I've been involved with from things such as even trying to get the literature, the information that's going to be disseminated to the community, to where it makes sense to the people who are actually reading it. You have to keep it simple. Don't make it too hard for a person to understand, because people are on different levels of understanding. So even when I was involved when I first got involved with the Citizen Sciences program, they were using all these acronyms, and they were saying, "Of course you know." And I'm like, "No, of course I don't know. I do not. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what that acronym means. Can you make it make sense to me? Because I'm not a trained physician or a researcher." Even my first meeting was when they said PI. I'm like, "What is that?" And it's an investigator. And I'm like, well, so now I'm having a balance between the word investigator, which could also be traumatic, and researcher. So which one do you use when you go into certain communities? Investigator, or researcher? So
Good point.
So one of the things that I try to make the information as easy to understand. If you can take some of this, make it less convoluted and make it more digestible, so people can actually understand what it is they're getting. There are some legal things you have to include, but we try to make it try to make it as easy to understand for as possible, so people can actually know. We have they give you these consent forms, and there's like this, I don't know how many pages of it. Like,
30.
what is this? And what am I signing? So those type of things, and like Miss Eason says, our people perish for lack of knowledge. So try to, people have to understand also, and I got this from watching my mother, God rest her soul, and my parents, both my parents, but my mother especially, when she engaged with doctors, she asked questions. Sometimes they didn't like the questions that she was asking, but she asked questions because you have to advocate for yourself. And a lot of times your own body better than anybody. So we have to advocate for yourself. Don't be afraid to ask doctors questions. And you don't have to. I mean, there are medications that's been prescribed to me before. I'm like, no, I'm not taking that. I don't need that medication and that medication and that medication. Why are you giving me all these medications? So you have to you have to understand that you have that power, that you can advocate for yourself. And, there may be consequences to not taking the medication, but you have to weigh that, and having the information helps you make an informed decision.
And I think I'm hearing you also say that helping people advocate for themselves can be a good role for maybe a coordinator who has a question, and ask questions, give them the time to ask the questions as well as the language. That was a lot of good information. Miss Eason, how about you?
Yeah, because I've been an advocate for, when I stopped working in 97, I just went full force into helping the elderly at my church. Has always been involved in the elderly, and never understood why, but I was always drawn to them. And so been with them to doctors where they did not understand. I would ask them, why are you taking this medication? I don't know, doctors just told me to take it, and then I'll try and investigate. I think I ran myself down, and maybe the Lord had to stop me in some kind of way, because I was being with all these people and try to help everyone and burn out. But that terminology makes a big difference. And when you're talking to people that don't know that medical terminology or just simple things, it makes a difference, as Mr. Richardson said, because one thing to one group of people may mean another to someone else. And so, yes, be careful about explaining things, be careful about, seeing where the person, meet them where they are, in a sense.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that was really helpful. And I know everybody here is like, they want more of that. I have a different question, but it's a really important one that someone asked. When you're looking for research studies to participate in, do you have any checks you make when deciding whether or not to participate in a study? Any sort of mental check boxes that you're looking for?
I think with me, I'll just jump right in. I'm looking at how is it going to affect this body of mine, because of all these medical diagnosis, I should say, that I've been given. I have to, and then of course I get kicked out of some because not kicked out or not eligible for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because of medications that I'm on or whatever other reason. But my mental checkbox for me will be, what is it going to do to my body? How long am I going to be involved in it? What's going to be required of me? Where do I have to go? And how many days a week? Because I lead a very busy lifestyle. Still, I've gone back to going out helping people. So, yeah.
Great. That was a good list. Mr. Richardson, do you have another list?
No, one of the things that whether or not if I'm participating myself or I am advocating for, trying to get other individuals from my community to participate in, and it's pretty much, is it beneficial to the community? How does it help? Is it helpful? I know, getting a colonoscopy is not like on anybody's like, oh, I want to get a colonoscopy, but I try to whenever I go get my colonoscopy, I put it on social media, maybe write a poem about or write a poem about it and put it on social media and advocate for other Black men to go and get their colonoscopy. It's, one of the things I know recently. The gentleman Chadwick Boseman, the actor that played uh, Black Panther, died from colorectal cancer, and I think colorectal cancer is on the rise in Black men. And normally, whatever the what's the word for it? Whatever the suggested, I guess, whatever the medical society and the community
Guideline.
says. Yes, we should get it done sooner, maybe 5 years sooner. They say 40, we should get it done at 35 because we're always the last to get detected and the first to die, and a lot of these cancers can be, if they're caught in time, are very curable. And that's the one thing that we have to be proactive to be able to catch these various cancers in time, that if you do catch them in time, there's the cure. They're very curable, like prostate cancer and some forms of breast cancer. You catch it in time. So that's one of the things that I'm really involved with. Various forms of cancer, especially ones that people tend to be affected by simply because they did not go get checked. So that's an easy one for me. If you go get checked, and I know there's fear involved, but go get checked, go get, your colonoscopy, go get your breast exam. For women, go get whatever the pelvic, whatever it is that you get checked, go get that. And I know Health Street's involved in bringing those resources in clinics and having these mobile clinics and everything like that come to the community. So whenever they're in the community, please take advantage of that, because once prevention and early detection is vital. We don't have to. We can lower our rates of dying from these type of cancers just by going and getting checked and taking advantage of these wonderful resources that Health Street provide for the community, and that they're free testing. So and so that's one of the things that motivate me. Things like that, the easy ones. There are some ones that are not as easy, but some of them are very easy, like prostate cancer. And especially with Black men, just getting checked. And I know. I'm gonna stop in a minute, but there was a gentleman who attended my mother's church, and he got up and testified one Sunday about how my mama saved his life. And he told this whole story, because after my father passed, my mother would randomly go up to Black men and ask them, have they gotten their prostate checked? And she had asked this gentleman, and he had no idea what a prostate was. And so he got up one Sunday and told this whole a very vivid story about how my mom told him to go get his prostate check, and he actually told about the whole examination. But he thanked her for saving his life, because simply by giving him the information and encouraging him to go and go get checked. So
some things are going to.
Actually went and got checked, and they found prostate cancer, but it was in time for him to get it taken care of.
It's a wonderful story, and you've lifted up many things together. I want to just reflect back on you saying that you look to see if it benefits the community, because you've both said that you care a lot about the community and making sure that health is promoted, and some things are easy. So those are easy to knock out, but bring things to the people. You also said that. We have some other people on who are asking one other question, not one other, many others. We're not going to get to them all. This has been a very active audience, and I know I don't know if you've got these open, but I do want to just say the flip question before we run out of time, which is the coordinators and the researchers on this would like to hear something about, what would you tell a researcher about, let me say this a different way. What do you wish that you could tell a researcher about participating, about having the community participate, because they're listening right now?
Well, I'll just jump right in and just say real quickly that I was just thinking about that. Just make sure that you show that you're compassionate about the people instead of just your project, because you're dealing with human beings, and I say that to people just because I've learned that when COVID happened, just let people know you care about them, and this. Show them, tell them how it's going to benefit, of course, the greater need, the people or whatever, but just put people at ease with your mannerism, the way showing sincerity is all I can say. And because I've never ran into anybody that wasn't, but I know that's some people might have. So that's one thing I could say, that just offhand thinking about it.
Show you care and really care, not just
Yeah,
pretend.
exactly.
Anything else on that one, Mr. Richardson, or should I give you the last art question?
I think what Ms. Easton said, it was that covered it. I mean, when you go into these communities, especially Black communities, and you may have a white researcher, a white doctor, I would suggest also if you have someone that looks like, or even your material, they have material, we have design material that may have Black people on the material that you're handing out. Or you may have I know they were doing a prostate study, and I was like, do you have a Black oncologist or a Black doctor? Is there a researcher that maybe may look like the people that are trying to engage? Those type of things, and understanding that when you go, there may be some cultural differences, and do whatever you can to understand that, like Ms. Easton said, and be just listen and understand, and knowing that there are some things that you may not understand, some, I guess, nuances about the Black community that you would not understand unless you are a person that comes from the Black community, and understand that. I think that's the beginning of understanding and a good relationship.
Thank you for that. That was really wonderful. I'm a little bit frustrated because we're really pretty much out of time.
Go ahead and ask that art question if you want to. I've got a minute.
Okay, you've got 1 minute. No, you've got 2. So how do you use art to help build the community's health? We'll ask it in a big way.
Well, we try to incorporate. We have an upcoming event, Art Speaks, bringing poetry and people together. It's one of our annual community poetry events. It's our 11th annual community poetry event. We have people from all over Gainesville, Alachua County, North of Florida come, and they share poetry and stories, whatever that is. And a lot of times they're revolve around healthcare, some cancers, would it be neurological? We had one person talked about seizures at our last year. Also, the UF Health Cancer Center was very involved in our inaugural poetry festival, where they came and gave poetry prompts centered around colorectal cancer. So people wrote poems about those type of issues. We'll also, at our upcoming event on September 10th, we have 2 health organizations that are going to be there, which is UF Health Cancer Center will have a table, and they will also most likely have a poetry prompt centered around some type of cancer. But we also I just got contacted by Dr. Levy, who's doing work on Alzheimer's and certain kinds of mild cognitive impairment and dementia. And so they're going to be there and going to give away a book called "This Is Your Brain on Art," and they're going to give away the book based on a poetry prompt centered around Alzheimer's, aging, and dementia. So that's one way we try to incorporate art and poetry and health and whatever we do. Whatever I do when I engage the community with art, we try to oftentimes have a health component to that.
Well, I just want to say that I'm just so grateful for what you have brought, the information you've brought, and for yourselves being here and sharing with us. For all of the participants, I think I also want to say hi, thank you to Naomi Villa and Sarah Marsh at Health Street who organized this panel. And maybe we have so many other questions we didn't get to, maybe we can put pressure on and get you back another time. But thank you very, very much for being here.
Question, is this recorded and can it be shared in the future?
We will share it in the future.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. There's another town hall tomorrow. I'm just saying that information is in the chat if you want to look for that. And I know there was some question about Art Speak. I'm going to put Art Speak Gainesville.
It's artspeaksgnv.org is the website.
Okay, I just put that. Oops, I put that to
gnv.org.
Okay, and we're out of time. We're 2 minutes over. Thank you both so much for being here with you.
Thank you for inviting us. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much. And hopefully it was helpful to someone who's watching.
I believe it is. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Dr. Stroud.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.